they're not aware of our program, and even if they were aware of our program, they wouldn't be interested in participating in this aspect of it. They're focused on their own business. So revenue that is shared comes through one of those two formats. And we're going to explain why our revenue share program is superior to other revenue share programs. And that reason alone is one. Okay. Most revenue share programs, all of the revenue comes from people in the revenue share program. Here I've got three different types of revenue share compensation plans. And these are all cycling compensation plans. I'm not going to go into all of the other ones because the other ones that are not included are not in the same category. And what I mean by that is if you're in a revenue share that pays a certain amount of money or a certain percentage in a certain time frame, that's what constitutes a Ponzi scheme, and we're not interested in going into that. Since no company knows how much money it's going to make in the future, what its future sales are going to be, selling somebody something and guaranteeing that they're going to make a certain amount of money is saying we know exactly how much money we're going to make in the future, and not even Google knows that. So what happens is if you make those types of promises that you're going to pay people in a certain period of time and you can't do that, which always ultimately happens as the pyramid that is formed as a result of that gets wider and wider at the bottom, then it collapses. People stop buying the product because they were only buying the product to make money to begin with. So we're not going to discuss those types of revenue share programs. We're going to talk about revenue share programs that share the revenue of actual sales. Okay? Not the people buying under other people and promising something in the future that they don't know what they can do, but of actual sales, and actual sales being paid at the time that they are earned. Okay? So again, in those other types, if they say, we're going to pay you in 30 days, we're going to pay you in 60 days, or we're going to pay you in an hour, whatever, they're hoping that they will be able to do that. We only pay based on actual sales. So how do you determine actual sales? You use some form of cycling compensation plan. And I'm not saying that there aren't others. I only know of three. The 2x2, the 2x3. There are possibly bigger ones than this. But the majority of them either use one of these two, the 2x2 or the 2x3. And then you have ours, which is the center one, which is not a matrix at all, but actually a line. And while there are other power lines that exist, this is a patent pending one that is exclusive to us, and only ours works this way. All lines look the same. It doesn't mean they work the same. So, and we'll go into what makes ours unique. So the first thing we want to look at is the 2x2. This appears to be the easiest revenue model. Nobody gets paid if there's actually not revenue there. But when there's revenue there, and the minute that there's revenue there, the people are paid. So the problem with this type is that in what makes MLM so powerful is that, and all of these are, anytime you get paid by referring other people, it's a form of MLM, okay? But what makes, there are MLMs that are highly successful and there are MLMs that are not successful. But what makes MLM successful is the idea of a network. See, if you don't have a network, all your income comes from the work that you do. You could have an affiliate program, which is just 2 levels. It's infinitely wide. But that's still a lot more work than an MLM because you have fewer people in your network. You know, there's lots of people like millionaires and billionaires out there that will tell you the secret to wealth is forming networks. And that definitely is the secret to MLM and why MLM works, because it's not about you, like in a job, doing all the work. It's about a bunch of people doing a little bit of work. So the larger your network is, the more money that you can make, meaning the larger the number of people that you can earn off of, the more you're going to make, regardless of what the cost of the product is. So that brings us to the subject of what's called spillover, which is part of a lot of networks. It's a very important aspect for the normal average person who fears that they can't get people. So if they got to do it all by themselves, they're not even going to join, because they're like, well, I don't know if I can get anybody. And if I can't make money unless I get people, then I'm not going to join. So you have to have spillover for the average person, for 95% of the population. So in this matrix here, this 2x3, this 2x2, you can only get spillover from one person. Now, that's not a network. One person does not make a network. And so if we look at this right here where we say you at the top, let's assume for a second that this isn't your matrix. Let's assume this is your sponsor's matrix. And that would mean this position right here is you. Okay? If you landed on your sponsor's first level. Now, you could actually land down here if these two positions are full already. And what that means is if these positions are full and you land in one of these, it means you can't get any spillover at all. It's impossible. Because once this is filled, your sponsor leaves this matrix, never to return. He's already been paid and he has gone back up under his sponsor. So the people that he is bringing in are now going into a completely different matrix. They're not going into yours. So on this type of matrix, you can get spillover from 1 to 0. You know, from one person or no people. Now we look at this matrix here. This is a 2x3 matrix. It's one level deeper. Now, it's slightly better because if we, for example, assume that this is you right here, then this is your sponsor and this is their sponsor. In the ideal situation, again, you could fall down here or you could fall down here. And if you're down here, then you're not in your sponsor's matrix or you're at the bottom of your sponsor's matrix and not in their sponsor's matrix at all. So in that case, you can't get spillover from any of them. So again, it's 0 to 2. Okay? So these types of matrices are fine for people who are perfectly capable of filling their own matrix. I, for one, have no problem filling these types of matrices, but 95% of the population cannot fill these. Okay? So again, in this right here, if this is your sponsor and this is you, then you have to fill these spots. Your sponsor can fill these, but they're not in your matrix. So, so what happens in the case if this is you and you do get spillover, you don't do anything until you get these two people from your sponsor, if they in fact give them to you, because a lot of times sponsors don't do anything. So if they give these two people and you get the maximum that you can get from your sponsor, that still means you have to get 4 in order to get paid. Now, is it possible that those two people will get 2 people? Yeah. It isn't probable, though. It isn't probable that you will be able to join and not bring people in and have your matrix filled, even though it's so small. The same with the bigger one. Okay. So in these particular matrices, here's one that's empty with you at the top. When all these 6 positions are filled, that's called a cycle, and you'll be paid. Same over here. When these 14 positions are filled, it's called a cycle, and you'll be paid. Now, there's 2 different ways that these will work. One is that you cycle, you get a brand new one. So you fill it up, then you get a new one. You fill it up, you get paid, and then you get a brand new one under your sponsor. Okay? That's one way that it works. Same here. Okay? You fill it up, then you get a brand new one. You got paid there. When you fill this one, you'll get paid. You'll get another one like it. You'll get paid. So there's 2 different ways. One is you just get a new one of the same exact size, same exact payout. The other way is you get a new one just like this, and you get a higher one. One that is the same size or bigger or smaller, depending on, obviously it wouldn't be smaller, but here in this case it could be smaller. You could go from this one into a smaller one, but you'd get a brand new one of these and the smaller one, okay? So that's the way that it works. And so the second one is one that pays more. So now once you cycle, in that scenario, once you cycle this one, now you have 2 that you can make money off of. The lower one and the higher one. So that's how these revenue shares that are not pyramid schemes actually work. As far as I know, there aren't any other ones, okay? But I'm not gonna, swear that there aren't any other ones. As far as I know, there aren't any other ones. So that brings us to this middle one, and this is ours. Aside from the very, very, very first time that the system starts, all lines will have 6 people in them, except for the feeder one. They'll all have 6 people in them. So where these start like this, all brand new ones look like this. All brand new ones of ours look like this. 6 full places, 8 open places. So while there's 8 open places, it would seem that this one needs less people because 6 is less than 8. But the difference between ours and these 2 is when these are filled, 2 people are going to get paid, not just 1. So the ratio, this is 6 to 1, this is 14 to 1, this is actually 4 to 1. And it has the maximum amount of spillover. In fact, this part right here represents 6 levels of spillover, depending on what size width you wanted to put on that. That could actually represent, a huge, huge, huge matrix. You'd have to have a huge matrix to replicate this level of spillover. But in our case, you don't. It's a very small amount of people, but the way that they're placed generates the maximum amount of spillover, the highest potential network available for this size. So with the way that this works is you have these 6 people trying to fill these 8 spots, where over here you've got this person and possibly the person above them in the so 3 people max to 1 person trying to fill all of these 14 positions, where here you have a minimum of 6 people. Well, here it's a minimum of 0, here it's a minimum of 0, or sorry, a minimum of 1, which would be you. Here it's a minimum of 6 people. But every time someone comes in, the number increases. So when this position is filled, it means 8 people are spilling over are creating spillover. So if any of these people come in, they go under these people. So it's the maximum amount of spillover, the highest level of teamwork, your highest chance of success of any compensation plan that I've ever seen. So as sales are made, they come in under here. Now, You might think that who's going to get paid? If it's just two, it's going to be these two, right? But while that can be the case, it's not necessarily the case. See, it's very important in a revenue share program or any program that you can't use socialism or communism. And what I mean by that is you can't pay, while a lot of companies claim that they do, you can't pay everybody an equal amount of money. What I mean is if a million people give me $1, I can't pay a million people fairly, equally, and give them more than they gave me. Because there's only $1 million maximum. If I don't take anything, if there's no payment processor fees and I don't take any profit or any money to run the company, I can't pay more than the $1 million that I've taken in. Unless I'm running a Ponzi scheme and trick people into believing that I can. Okay? But we're not talking about that. We're talking about a true and actual business. So you have to have a system to reward the masses, meaning, yes, you can still make money without sponsoring people. That's an important factor. It gives people confidence. It gets them to do something they might not normally do. It gets them to take a chance and see that, oh, well, I actually can sponsor people. But you have to pay the majority of the money to the people who are actually selling your product. Because if you do a communism type or socialism type method where you say you don't need to do anything, guess what's going to happen? Nobody's going to do anything. So who's going to sell your product? Because see, in an MLM program or direct sales program, all the money that would be used for marketing in any other company is being paid to the distributors. So if nobody's distributing, the company doesn't make money. There's no revenue to be shared. So it's important to reward the people who are doing the work. And to reward and do it on a level that if somebody's doing far more work than a person that's doing a lot of work, then that person needs to make more money. You want to reward them. You want to make them happy. You want them staying on your program and continuing to make money. So in this particular situation, two people get paid. Once this board is filled, once this line is filled, then what's going to happen is it's going to take two people and it's going to pay them and it's going to create two more exactly like this. It's all going to happen in a split second. Those two that were paid are going to get a new, that they don't pay for, revenue share that is a higher level revenue share. Meaning when it cycles, it pays more money and takes them to another level. And when it cycles, it pays even more money. It takes them to another level. Okay? So but when this first splits, those two people are immediately going to go back into the same one under their sponsor. So when you see the line again, it could look just like this. Or it could have, say, 8 if both of those people's sponsor was on this one. Or it could be 7. One went to one and one went to another. And then again, those people on there are trying to fill this line. So there's a huge incentive for people to fill this line. To not sit around and wait, but to fill this. And that incentive is there's qualifiers. You can get paid without being qualified. But what qualified means is you're qualified to jump. You're the one doing the work. You should get paid before the people who aren't doing anything. So what happens is there's a maximum of 2 qualifiers that you get. So if you're up here and you bring in 2 people into this board, into this line, then you have 2 qualifiers. And what that means is when it splits, you're going to jump over everyone else who doesn't have 2. You can also have a qualifier of 1. So let's say the board splits and there's only one person who has 2. Then it's going to take one of the people who has one. Now, if nobody has a qualifier, and that is possible, then that means that it's going to be the top two. Whoever's been waiting the longest, the top two are going to go. So from this point, these people are in a mad rush to fill these 8 spots. But there's 6 of them, and they're all trying to get 2. Because 2 means, I can't be jumped. I'm next. I can't be jumped. So they're all in a mad rush to fill these 8 spots. Well, 2 times 6 is 12, and there's not 12 spots here. But as each person comes in, it's more people who are trying to get 2. So these lines can move very, very quickly. Very, very quickly. And even the people, let's say that this person is qualified and this person is qualified, these people are still going to be trying to get their 2 as quickly as they can. Because when the board splits, somebody down here who's got, well, let's say somebody down here who has 2, if these 2 people have 2, that's okay. But when the board splits, this person who has 2 is going to go to the top of one of the other 2. So there's always an incentive to every single person on here to get as many people as they can. Now, we're very fortunate that our product sells itself. All you have to do is tell people about our product, about the free advertising, about, that type. You don't have to try to convince them that they should buy it or pay or anything like that. The system will take care of itself. So as you're going out there getting people, then they're going to follow you in this. So as I said before, we have companies who do not participate in our revenue share program. They're only interested in our product. And that revenue comes into the system. Plus, the system also generates revenue for the specific purpose that I'm about to describe to you. One of the things that makes our product so good is that we actually have an incentive for people to actually look at the advertising. Of course, there's an incentive for people to look at the advertising because they earn credits that they can use to advertise their own website. That's great. So that's an incentive alone. You look at websites, you earn credits, your website gets seen. That's great. It increases our product is SEO traffic. It's not like any other traffic exchange. There's other videos on that. You can understand how that works. But our product itself is very valuable, and you can get it for free by doing it. So that really would be enough. But we've added an extra incentive. We want people to actually look at our advertising because normally people aren't looking at it. In like, say, a traffic exchange, people aren't looking at it. They're just going next. And traffic exchanges they work. They're a great way to advertise, but it takes more time to have the same amount of success because people really aren't looking at the advertising. So what we've done is we've created a way to make sure that people are looking at the advertising. How? By hiding revenue shares in our text ads, in our websites, and in our banners. So if you're looking at the advertising, that means if it is something that appeals to you, you're more likely to see it, more likely to buy it. That's good for the advertisers. But because those prizes are in there, that also helps the revenue share. Because we're not talking about a little bit. We're talking about a lot of these that we will put in the system. So if you have somebody, if you're a free person, you're a free member, and you get a bunch of other free members, when they win one of these revenue shares, they go under you. It's the same exact to you as if they purchased it, which is really good. So again, by by even if you sign up a whole bunch of free people who couldn't possibly afford, which is like 70% of the population of the planet lives on less than $2.50 a day, they couldn't possibly afford any program that costs any amount of money because they can barely afford to eat. Okay, so if you're if that's all the people you know, it doesn't hurt you because you can win and they can win, and there's no limit to the amount of revenue shares that you can win in a year, a month, a week, a day. You know what I'm saying? If you're the one that won it, you're the one that won it. We don't say, oh, you already won today or you already won this week. You can't win. There's no limit to how many you can win. If you're the one that won, then you won. So, and if you have a large team of people that are doing the same thing, even though none of them are spending money, it's as if they are, because they're getting these, somebody's buying them for them. We're buying them for them. So again, that makes our product better, okay? It makes the advertising better, and of course, what does that do? It makes more people who need our product buy our product, and that, again, stimulates the revenue share program. So another thing we want to talk about, because I said you can cycle without making any without actually referring anybody. And that's an important aspect, but it can't be too powerful, but it is an important aspect. So how exactly does that work? If you haven't sponsored anyone, does that mean you can't be qualified? No. You can actually be qualified by your sponsor. Let's say this is, let's say that this person sponsored these two people. This person now has the maximum number of qualifiers. So if they sponsor this person, what that means is this person now has a qualifier. Okay, so your sponsor can qualify you. That's one way you can get qualified, even if you don't bring anybody in. Okay, another way that you can get qualified is, as I said, everybody follows their sponsor. But there's one position in the whole system that doesn't have a sponsor, and that's called the queen. The queen is the one that all other people follow. It's the very, very top. If you imagine like a swarm of bees and everybody's following the queen, because under the queen is the master distributor, and under the master distributor is every other person in the company at some level. Okay? So the queen essentially has everyone in the company following her. Not as a personal referral, but she has them following her. And that's actually very powerful in the same way that somebody with a large downline would have a lot of power. Now, there are situations, let's say, as we said before, you're free and you have a bunch of free friends and they're all doing it. One of them wins before you. You're the sponsor, and one of them wins before you. Well, you've got to follow your sponsor, but you're not in there. So what it's going to do is it's going to follow the queen until you do get in there. Once you get in there, because these lines move very quick and they're always changing positions, once you do get in there, then your people will follow you. But until then, they're going to follow the queen. Okay? So what happens is, when the queen cycles, every time the queen cycles, the queen is looking for the person who's been in the longest who has not cycled. That's who she's looking for. Okay? So let's say that that is this person. It could be this person, whatever. But let's say it's this person. So the queen comes in right here. The queen is going to fill this line. Now this one only has one referral. It was the queen. This person hasn't sponsored anybody, but the queen says, you're my sponsor. Right now, you're my sponsor. Now, one of two things is going to happen. The queen could actually be qualified before this person, or someone else could be qualified before this person, okay? But again, still two people jump. I mean, two people are paid, so it's not really probable that that's going to happen. But let's say you have no qualifiers. The queen comes underneath you, gives you your first qualifier, okay? And then something happens and the queen actually gets paid before you. You don't get paid because this guy had two and the queen got two, and so you don't get paid. What's going to happen is the queen's going to come back under you because you're still the person who's been in the longest who hasn't cycled. Once you've cycled, the queen is going to go find the next person who's been in the longest, which is no longer you, who hasn't gotten paid. And that's how the queen works. And the queen operates on every single one of these lines. There's a total of 20. The first one being the feeder. The feeder's sole purpose is to allow people to participate in this revenue share system, to give us lower cost ones that we can afford to give away. Of course, if we gave away the standard ones, we wouldn't be able to help as many people, so the feeder's important for that. And the feeder behaves a little bit differently. There's a lot of benefits that a member gets once they've gone through and cycled the feeder the first time. And all the money from that on the first time is used for that. One is paying you into that much higher level. So the first time you go through the feeder, you do not receive any money, but you do get paid into that higher level, which is a big jump. And like I said, there are other benefits that you'll get as well, which I'm not going to explain in this video. So, the next ones, the next 19 are unique in that every time that they cycle, you get a brand new one. You go back into the line, you get a brand new one under your sponsor, and you get paid into the next highest level. Okay? So let's say that you're a number 1 and you get paid. You're going to get another number 1 and you're going to get a number 2. Now, a number 2 pays generally double or more, okay, than what number 1 pays. So if you keep cycling number 1, you could have, you'll only ever have that number 1 if you unless you buy another one. You'll only ever have that number 1. But you could have several number 2s and several number 3s, all because the number 1 keeps producing more for you. But you cannot have that with the feeder. So you'll never have, unless you buy more than one number 1 package, you'll never have more than one. But these, all the others, you can have more than one because these are creating it. This, the feeder does not create multiple positions. It's designed to help everyone, to make it possible for as many people as possible to participate. The rest of the ones are for people who have money and can afford to buy them. So the difference between the feeder and all the others is the feeder does not pay on the first go around. If you go through the first time, you do not get paid anything. And it doesn't create multiples of number 1, where number 1 will create multiples of number 2, number 2 will create multiples of number 3. All of that will happen, but it doesn't happen on the feeder. And of course, with all the other ones, every time you cycle, you get paid. So, so again, you do not need to, in order to make money with this is the only part of our compensation plan that allows free members to earn money, is the revenue share. And you can do that, as I said, by winning a revenue share, by using our system, looking at the ads, and winning. And you can make money obviously off of free members, other free members who also win. So, and again, there's no limit to how many times you can get paid. There's not a time limit on it. There's a revenue limit on it, meaning if we have sales, you are going to make money, which means this cannot crash because it is based on sales. It's not based on paying people money we don't have and promising them money we don't have. It is, if you're on this line and you fill this line, you're going to get paid no matter what. The money is exclusively for what has occurred in that line. So that's how the revenue share model works. And like I said, with what happens when a company who's not participating in the revenue share buys advertising for us? Well, we want to share that with the people who it's important that we share that with the people that are looking, to give them more of an incentive, because that traffic that's generated through our system is very valuable. It's something that is very valuable to the people who would buy, regardless of whether they can make money, okay? And that is normal companies. So the way that we share that revenue is by increasing the number of free feeder positions that we give away. And the feeder positions push all the other ones, because everybody's coming through. All these lines are kind of lined up, essentially, is a good way to look at it. And so when we sell to big companies, then they are placed in here. We do have a situation for like actual sales reps, not MLM people, where they get a percentage of the advertising that they sell. So they go out and sell like, $10,000 or $50,000 worth of advertising. They're going to get paid for that. It has nothing to do with revenue shares. It's not considered a sponsorship because, again, those people aren't participating. They're just regular sales reps that sell our product. Then those people get paid for doing that. And aside from that, the extra revenue will go into the system in the way of these free positions. And the more money we make, the more we give away. We cannot say how many we're giving away because we can't make people win. Meaning all we can do is put the prizes in there, and we can say, well, today we want to give away 100. So, but that doesn't mean 100 people will win, because if the ad goes by and the person doesn't see it, there's nothing we could do about that. So we can't say we're going to give away this many, because it has to be won by a real person. Somebody's got to be looking and see it and claim it. So in that regard, we cannot say exactly how many we will give away. The more people start to win, the more people will realize, oh my God, this really is real, and more people will be really paying attention. But still, you're always going to have those people who just simply are not paying attention. They're just trying to earn credits for their website. That's more of a higher priority. Maybe they don't believe that they can win. So it can literally pass people by because they're just not paying attention. So we can't, like I said, say how many we will give away. But part of what makes our product valuable is actually giving those away, because it makes people look at the advertising. And when you have a captive audience, the results of that advertising skyrocket. So so that's the compensation plan for this. There'll be a video for every one of our compensation plans. This, of course, is probably this is probably our number one compensation plan. This one is the one that will interest the most people and want to understand why. For those that think that all revenue shares might be Ponzi schemes, they'll want to see oh, well, okay, this isn't, or some people who just want to understand the compensation plan. But this one I think will have the highest interest out of all of our videos. But like I said, this program has 4 revenue streams all together, and we'll have a video for each one. Thanks, and have a great day.